Good to have you on. It's Willie Geist. Let me ask you about police reform, an issue you've been working on now for months and months and months. We've gone through these fits and starts where we've heard that you and Senator Tim Scott, the Republican from South Carolina, are close on a deal that would set some national standards for policing. Yesterday, we hear those talks collapsed and are all but dead. Is that a fair way to characterize it? And if so, what happened? It seemed like you were so close for a while there. How did they fall apart?
Yeah, if you ever told me a year ago that we would have gotten the Fraternal Order of Police, the biggest police union in America, to agree with us on sweeping policing reform, that would have empowered our police officers dealing with issues like mental health, that would have set high levels of transparency in our policing we so urgently need, would have raised professional standards in a way that would help the profession. We had come so far in getting major police groups on board. But at the end of the day, Senator Scott and I had a gulf between us that we could not close. And I think this week, when I saw that even the Trump executive order that said we should have national accreditation standards and consequences for communities that won't live up to those standards, you don't get federal grants, federal dollars, if you don't meet up those accreditation standards, it wasn't something Senator Scott would support. Even the Trump executive order, which is the law of the land now. I just felt at that point we have too much of a gulf that we're not closing. We need to move on.
Let me read to you the statement from Senator Scott. He said this of the impasse on police reform, quote, "I offered to introduce a bill that included our areas of compromise, a bill that activists and law enforcement alike could have supported. Despite having plenty of agreement, Democrats said no because they could not let go of their push to defund our law enforcement." What's your response, Senator?
Look, I have love for Tim. He and I have done a lot of good work together, whether it's helping to expand sickle cell funding, help HBCUs, and more. We fundamentally agree. I'm not going to get into a partisan accusation match. This isn't about Democrats, Republicans. This is about two of the very few black people who have ever served in the United States Senate. Two guys who've had humiliating experiences with police, guns drawn, accused of stealing things we didn't steal. This is about two people making a sincere effort to get to some point where we could have comprehensive police reform. It did not happen. I believe fundamentally we have to have transparency in policing. We have to have accountability. When police do awful things, there should be consequences. And God, we must have higher professional standards. We weren't there. It's clear we weren't there. A lot of the stories coming out show that we still had gulfs between us. So we need to find another way. I was in the Oval Office yesterday talking to President Biden. He is committed to moving as far as possible through executive action. And we're going to continue to work at this. I'm not going to give up. It took so many tries before we got comprehensive civil rights legislation. I'm not going to give up doing the work until we can have a day in America where you don't have entire communities that fear the police because of these awful killings and beatings, unjustified actions that are being taken. And this is the beautiful thing about it, because we planted seeds now. Yeah. When the head of the FOP and I have become friends and agree broad-based on so many reforms, that's a sign of progress. We just need to get some Republican partners that will come on board and agree with Donald Trump's EO or the head of the largest police union there is.
So, Senator, you've heard, I'm sure, over the last several months from many of your progressive friends who've said, look, Republicans are never going to really vote in favor of meaningful overhaul of policing in the United States. So do you believe at the end of the day, as you say, these talks have collapsed for now, that Republicans were negotiating in good faith through this?
Again, I have a friendship with the people I was negotiating with and a trust. I did not feel like that trust was betrayed at the negotiating table. I felt like this fell apart because, again, of different philosophies. I think from civil rights to suffrage, the federal government has a role to play in holding police departments accountable at a significant level. We could not agree on those basic issues, and that's why this came apart. We've got to stop in this country demonizing us with broad partisan swaths. It is not going to be constructive. But we have to keep demanding. And all of those activists, the largest civil rights demonstrations in the history of our country, in communities that didn't even have minority populations of any significance. We have to deliver on meaningful police reform, or we will be back here discussing the continued videotapes that are being captured of unarmed African Americans unjustly killed or beaten. We have work to do, and I will not stop in that pursuit.
Well, Senator Booker, you are certainly you're taking the high road, and you're being bipartisan, and I think most Americans are grateful for that. However, I'm looking at Tim Scott's statement, and while you're taking the high road, he's accusing you of defunding the police. Like this is a bumper sticker from a political campaign instead of a serious bipartisan negotiation, a process where you continue to act in good faith. Can I just ask you, first of all, is there anything in this bill? Because let me say again, I want to be careful that I get this right. Tim Scott said he couldn't agree with you because Democrats want to, quote, defund law enforcement. What part of this deal has anything to do with defunding law enforcement?
Well, I mean, again, if anybody wants to look at the deal we struck with the Fraternal Order of Police and the International Association of Chiefs of Police and other law enforcement leaders, there was actually significant money, hundreds of millions of dollars, to help with the challenges of the profession. We have police officers that are put in mental health pressure cookers without the kind of supports that they need. We need to be doing a lot of record collection that we're not. We can't federally mandate that without providing resources for that transparency. So my work product in these 9 months speaks for itself. We wanted to get resources to our police, make the profession stronger and better. That's why the Fraternal Order of Police came on board. They would not have endorsed a bill that was defunding the police. It's absurd.
I was just going to.
And the sloganeering has to stop.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, Senator. I mean, so Tim Scott is now saying that the Fraternal Order of Police are supporting a bill that defunds the police. Again, I want to read this because it's such outrageous language. It's such bad faith language. It's shocking. Despite having plenty of agreement, Democrats said no because they could not let go of their push to defund our law enforcement. I want to know why the Fraternal Order of Police would support legislation that would defund the police. And if that's not the case, is Senator Scott lying?
Look, you and I have both worked in this town, and
I still don't like people lying about me.
Right.
So do you like him lying about you?
You know what I've learned a long time ago, and you know this, Joe, because you operate this way. If I let my ego or my wounds of the names people call me, I wouldn't have made as much progress in this town.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I mean, I've worked with Lindsey Graham. I've worked with comprehensive immigration, comprehensive police, criminal justice reform with Jared Kushner. I could go through the people on the right that I've worked with, who if I was salty and let my ego get wound up in what they called me, we would have never got the work to do. At the end of the day, I live in a African-American community. I live with people every single day who have life urgencies that are so much bigger than my ego being upset about the name calling going on. I gotta focus on delivering for folks. I've got 8 years in the Senate with big bills under my wings, with partners on the other side, because that's how most things get done in this town. And I'm not gonna let this descend to personal name calling, especially with another guy who I have so much in common with through lived experience, who we have actually done big things in this town together. I'm not going to respond to any personal attacks at all.